Okay, let's unpack this. Welcome, everyone, to Complete Aviation Solutions, deep dive number 87.
Good to be here.
Today, our mission really is to slice through some recent noise, pull out the key bits from developments happening right now across aviation.
Yeah, there's quite a bit going on.
We've got info touching on commercial airline regulations, some interesting military fleet stuff, and what's happening in airline finance.
A good mix.
Exactly. The goal is to give you that shortcut, to understanding the forces moving the industry right now.
Let's jump in.
First up, then, competition. And the regulatory side of things in commercial aviation, specifically over in Europe, there's some big legal action that's just popped up. On May 21st, actually, a German leisure carrier kicked off a legal case. They're going to the European General Court.
And they're challenging a European Commission decision, right?
Precisely. A decision from back in January 2025.
That was the one approving a major airline group buying a big stake, 41%, in another airline.
That's the one. And what's fascinating here, as you said, is the argument. It's not that the deal happened.
No, it's about the conditions, the remedies the Commission put in place.
Right. The German carrier is basically saying they're not enough. They don't do enough to protect competition.
Yeah, the source material quotes them saying something like, the remedies imposed are not sufficient to offset the harm.
Or even elimination of competition resulting from this transaction. That's the line.
Pretty strong language.
It is. They're asking the court flat out, annul this decision, scrap it. Because, they argue, independent airlines can't compete fairly like this, and that's bad for passengers.
And it seems they're not the only ones unhappy. Didn't another airline file a similar suit?
They did, yeah. Another airline also wants that approval annulled, so this isn't an isolated complaint.
It really throws a spotlight on that tension, doesn't it? Between big airline groups wanting to consolidate and the regulators trying to keep the market competitive.
Absolutely. The Commission puts these remedies in place thinking they'll balance things out.
But clearly, the effectiveness of those remedies is now, well, under judicial review.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it? How do these long legal fights affect future deals? Does it make other airlines, pause?
It must factor in. I mean, getting the regulatory okay isn't the finish line if you then face court challenges.
Yep.
Adds risk, adds time.
Yeah, definitely adds uncertainty. Okay, let's pivot a bit. Let's talk military procurement. Completely different area, but some interesting fleet updates happening with one particular Air Force.
Okay.
So their procurement agency just ordered a couple of business jets, straight from the manufacturer.
And the purpose is VIP transport, yeah.
Yeah.
Updating the fleet.
That's it. The contract value, it's listed as SEK 1.1 billion kroner. About, what, USD 115 million?
Sounds about right. And the planes are Global 6500s, 2 of them.
2 Global 6500s, yeah. Deliveries are actually pretty soon, November and December this year, 2025.
Okay. And they'll get a local designation, TP-106, operated by the 75th State Aviation Squadron out of Stockholm, Arlanda.
Right. And they're swapping out some older birds. One GVSP, that one's almost 30 years old.
Wow, yeah.
And a G550, that one's about 16, 17 years old.
So a definite modernization step.
But here's what I found really interesting. The Air Force itself highlighted a specific benefit.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
Getting 2 jets of the same type, these 2 Global 6500s, simplifies their operations compared to having the mix they have now.
Ah, standardization. Makes sense. Maintenance, training, crewing, it all gets easier.
Exactly. It's not just about having new aircraft, it's about efficiency.
And that standardization, it probably links up with other things they're doing.
It does. This order has synergies, they say, with 3 Global 6000I planes they've got coming in 2027.
Right, the airborne early warning ones, based on the Global 6000.
Yeah, replacing the older Saab 340 AEW planes. So it's a consistent platform choice, almost.
Interesting. And there are other changes, too.
Yep, part of a wider refresh. They've got a couple of older Learjets, KR-35As, used for target towing and electronic warfare stuff. Those are being replaced by 3 modified Learjet 60 SEs. And actually, the first of those new Learjets started test flights near Linköping Malmen back in late April.
So things are moving along there, too. And don't they also have some Gulfstreams for signals intelligence?
They do. 2 Jivy SPs, designated S-102B, kitted out for SIGINT.
You know, if you step back and look at the bigger picture, this Air Force isn't alone. We're seeing this trend quite a bit globally.
Using business jets for more than just VIPs.
Exactly. Leveraging them for really critical specialized missions. SIGINT, like you mentioned, electronic warfare, even airborne command and control.
So what does that tell us about how modern air forces are thinking? What do these business jet platforms offer?
Well, they offer a blend, don't they? Speed, range, they can often operate from more places than, say, larger military transports or fighters.
More flexibility.
Right. And they provide a pretty stable platform for complex sensors or communication suites. Plus, as we discussed, standardizing the airframe where possible.
Okay.
It just helps with logistics and cost.
So it points towards needing versatile, modern tools for a complex world.
I think that's a good way to put it. Adaptable platforms for diverse needs.
Okay, great insight. Let's shift gears again. Final topic. Airline finance. Commercial side again, but focusing on the money. An airline based in Brisbane International.
Ah, yes. The one potentially looking at an IPO.
That's the story. They're deep in talks with investors right now. This week, apparently.
And the goal is testing the waters, gauging appetite for going public.
Exactly that. Gauging appetite for an IPO. It's being led by the majority owners, a private equity firm. They hold about 68%.
Mhm. And they've got the airline execs with them, CEO, loyalty program boss.
Yep, they're all involved in these investor meetings.
This airline has quite a backstory, doesn't it? Used to be listed.
It did on the Australian Stock Exchange. But it hit trouble, filed for voluntary administration back in 2020, and got delisted.
And that's when the private equity firm stepped in, bought it out of administration.
Correct. Bought it for around AUD 700 million, maybe USD 450 million then. But, and this is key, took on a lot of debt. AUD 5.15 billion, so over USD 3 billion.
That's a hefty debt load.
Yeah.
So the IPO talk isn't entirely new. It's come up before.
It has, yeah. Plans came and went, apparently. But something significant just happened recently.
Oh,
That private equity firm sold off a chunk of their stake, about 25%.
okay. And how much did that go for?
Around AUD 750 million, about USD 482 million. And doing the math on that sale, it values the whole airline now at roughly AUD 3 billion. That's nearly USD 2 billion.
Right, so that sets a recent valuation benchmark, makes the IPO prospect seem more real this time, perhaps. Are there other investors still involved?
There are. Virgin Group has 5%, and Queensland Investment Corporation has 2%.
You know, what's fascinating here is seeing that classic private equity cycle. Buy distressed, restructure, take on debt, improve operations, and then look for an exit, often via IPO.
And the airline's performance now seems to be the main selling point.
Has to be right to attract public investors.
Well, the CEO's message in these recent meetings is clear. This isn't the airline of 2020. It's streamlined, efficient, profitable. Reinvigorated was the word used.
And they have numbers to back that up.
They do. The CEO who just left reported a record profit before interest and taxes EBIT of AUD 439 million for the last 6 months of 2024. That's around USD 282 million.
That's a strong performance number. And market share.
Pretty solid domestically, 34.4%.
Okay. So if these investor meetings go well this week, an IPO could be on the cards soon. Maybe next few months.
That's the suggestion, yes. But always with the caveat. Depends on market conditions, volatility.
Of course, always the market risk. But it does make you think, why are investors looking seriously at airlines like this again, given the industry's ups and downs?
Good question.
And what does this particular airline's turnaround, if it holds, signal about maybe broader confidence returning to the sector?
It's quite a comeback story, isn't it? From administration to that kind of profit and valuation. That must appeal to investors looking for success stories.
It really does. That strong EBIT suggests the underlying operations are healthy now, separate from the financing structure. For the private equity firm, it validates their work and makes it, well, much easier to sell to the public markets.
Right. Okay, so let's pull these threads together. We've touched on the legal drama around a big European airline deal.
The competition concerns.
We looked at how one military is strategically upgrading its fleet using business jets for various roles.
The move towards standardization and specialized capabilities.
And we just discussed an airline's potential journey back to the stock market after a major private equity-led turnaround.
From administration to potential IPO.
These different pieces, they really offer glimpses into what's driving aviation right now, don't they? You've got regulation, national strategy, and the flow of capital all shaping things.
Absolutely. All interconnected in complex ways.
So, thinking about all this, here's something for you, the listener, to consider. Given these legal fights in Europe, what might that competitive landscape look like in a few years? Will consolidation slow down?
Or how might these military modernizations change the way air forces operate, especially in regional contexts? What new capabilities come online?
And finally, that potential IPO, what does it really signal about investor confidence in airlines today, especially for one that's been through such a dramatic restructuring?
Lots to mull over there.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So, what does this all mean? Something to think about.